Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about loss and grief. Okay. The title of my live today is Mastering Life is Mastering Loss. Okay. Right. So, firstly, we need to understand that everything in this life in reality is impermanent, meaning that it's not permanent. And we're talking about relationships, identities, and phases in life. Even various versions of ourselves are not permanent, because one day you could be a writer and have a big life experience being a writer and expressionist of the word, right? The next day or next cycle, you might be a producer of movies, you understand? So these are all identities. It's the caps we wear, different caps we wear during our life experience here on this earth. So nothing is permanent. One day you are a mother, you are a young woman, and you have a child, right? Next minute your child grows up, and then the child has a child, and then you become the grandparents. You understand? Now you're carrying a different uh, title, a different cap. You know, with that parents of the child, your grandparents. So in life, everything is impermanent. Nothing stays the same, right? So today we're going to talk about specifically when it comes to loss. Okay, grief isn't just about death, it's about a loss. Okay, it's about transitioning and ending and letting go of what is no longer there, doesn't fit anymore in your life experience. To master life is to avoid certain things. Okay, number one, face change without collapsing. So remember, you're going to avoid the collapsing. You're going to face the change without collapsing, right? Let what must die, right? Avoid holding on or clinging on to what must die and let and change. Now, human suffering is self-imposed because we tend to enmesh and attach ourselves to all circumstances and situations. That's why if you want to avoid the feeling of loss, you need to face change without collapsing, right? Understanding a change is just a rhythm of life. Change just the way things are. You understand? Then you will not collapse. Let go of what must die or end, internally and externally. And internally, it can really be painful when you realize that now you need to let go of an identification of yourself, which you really, really were enmeshed to. You understand? Hi, Shane, how you doing? So we're talking about the ideology of mastering life, right? And mastering grief and pain. Now, remember that life must have pain and joy. So, what we normally do, we normally celebrate the joyous times and we really don't see the gift of the grief, of the pain. It's letting go, you understand? And in the midst of the suffering, understand that God has not left us, that we are God and everything is an expression of God, even the pain, even the loss. There's a lesson, there's a gift from divine source. You understand now? You got to make space for what wants to be birthed, what wants to come in you. You need to make space, right, in life. Carry pain without becoming the pain. You understand? Carry pain without becoming the pain. Carry the frustration without becoming the frustration. See endings as an integral part of growth, not a punishment. You understand? Not a punishment, but a part of growth. It's like saying, okay, God, I've now lost, this thing is gone. What next? So when you're in the midst of the pain and feeling the loss, you don't think of the higher picture, the higher level of what's going on. Hi, sweetie pie. The boys' soccer game. How are you doing, my lovey? Hope you're doing well. Today we're talking about mastering life and mastering pain and grief. Now, myself being somebody who went through a lot of pain in my life, right? A lot of loss. I understand the feeling, how you feel when you had lost at the beginning, when you first lose this relationship, or you lose this job, or you lose this ability to do something. Maybe you got injured and now you were a soccer player and you're very good at it, was where you were making your money, right? The next minute should you lose it. You understand? You lose, you get hurt. Now you can't be that soccer player anymore. For me, what happened with me is that I got hurt at a very young age, at age of 18, right? In the prime of my teenage time of my life, right? I had an accident that left me with an impairment, with a disability.